guys, welcome back. So today my family has requested chicken tenders for supper, so I thought since I make it so often that I would take you guys along with me as I make them, and I hope you guys enjoy.
So the first thing I do is I start with my oil. I put my oil in my frying pan just so I can get that warmed up while my chicken is being prepared. I also, off to the side, I don't know if you can see very well, but it is just a baking sheet lined with tin foil, and then I have a kind of like a drying rack to allow the grease to drip off of my chicken when I finish cooking them. So I always start off with a family pack of the boneless, skinless chicken breasts because it's cheaper that way. And two, I don't like the pre-cut packages of breast tenderloins. They always leave tendons in the pre-cut breasts, and I cannot stand that. I think they're gross. It's hard for my kids to chew through them, and we don't like it. So it's just easier for me to just cut them myself. So I always wash my chicken before I get started on any kind of project where I'm cooking. If you don't wash your meat, that is definitely a choice you're making. It's definitely not the choice I would make, because these chickens, or whatever meat that you're eating, they come from a very far place, and they're being packaged, and you don't know what kind of bacteria is being packaged in with them. And also, washing your meat prevents a lot of foodborne illnesses from your like cutting surfaces and things like that. So just be careful. Be aware. So if you don't wash your meat, stay safe. So like I said, the main thing when I'm cutting my chicken strips is I am trying my hardest to avoid those tendons that you see there. I think they're gross. My kids have a hard time chewing through them. Nobody likes them. It takes me 3 seconds. So I just go ahead, slice them, and move along. Now you'll notice that I only used 3 chicken breasts in this particular recipe. However, I was just doing it based on feel, and I did end up having to go back and use a 4th large chicken breast, and that is just what works for my family and what worked that night, feeding the amount of people that I did that night. Obviously if you have more people to feed, use more chicken breasts. If you have less people, use less. Just do whatever works for you. This is not a very specific recipe that you have to follow to a T. It's just a general recipe for making chicken strips. I try to make some kind of smaller ones so the kids can have little small bite-sized pieces on their plates, and then I leave the bigger slices for my husband and myself. But just small enough so a kid can grab it. And it doesn't take up a whole bunch of space on their plate. So after this, I grabbed an old pie tin that I just use and wash and reuse, and I filled it with about 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk because I like buttermilk chicken. If you don't have buttermilk, you can always use regular milk with a little bit of lemon juice for a zing. And I also had to supplement with a little bit of almond milk because that's what I also had and I needed more liquid. I used my friend's eggs. They were beautiful and delicious. I just use one. I find that does the trick. And then my camera died. So here is my dry batter recipe. It's very simple, but these are going to get you some crispy tenders. So first I use all-purpose flour, then I use an equal amount of cornstarch, and that is what's going to give it that crisp that you're looking for. And then I use just a little bit of seasoning. You can adjust that on how salty you want it or how flavored you want it. I like to use an all-purpose total seasoning just so it can, have all of the spices that I want in there. So as you can see here, I first put my chicken in the flour and then I run it through the liquid dredge, and then I take it back to my dry batter, and then I go ahead and I pack it on there. I pack all of the dry flour that I can put on there, and then I pop that bad boy right into the skillet. Now I try to make sure that all of my chicken is evenly spread out and they have space, because if they get too crowded, they get cabin fever and they break out into fist fights. So in order to prevent that, I just make sure that I give them enough space where they can be themselves, and I usually use my tongs if they get a little too close, if they get a little too handsy with one another. I just give them a little chastisement and flip them over, and I make sure that they stand on opposite sides of the room until they can get it together. So I flip them a few times until they start turning that beautiful golden brown color. And once I feel that they are sufficiently browned, I go ahead and I put them onto my sheet where they can drip. Then as those cook, I find some time to go ahead and clean up my space in my work area, because I think it's so nice when you're cleaning in your margins, you can leave that area feeling really satisfied and really clean. And it's not something that you have to go back afterwards and try to clean up after you're tired and supper's done, and it's just something that you can do while you're there. And I definitely fall short in this sometimes because I'm in the kitchen so often and it just becomes a big tizzy sometimes, but I do find that I feel a lot better when I clean as I go. By this time my chicken strips were done, and look how beautiful. Wow, these are so crispy. It's a great recipe. You guys should definitely give it a try and let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because I enjoy you. See you next time.